great person that is a dean of the HEIG. Not only that, but he's professor at the EPFL in the information technologies and science areas. But most importantly, he is the founder of ACIS, one of the founders of ACIS, and the first president, 1992, Eduardo SANCHEZ.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I try to speak in English. This is very difficult for me, but I try to do it. It's more difficult when I have an audience that speaks Spanish and French, but when I try to speak in English. This is mandatory for Daniel to speak in English. Okay, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today, and it's a great honor to be the first speaker of this celebration. And I'm talking about celebration, not symposium, because for me, the symposium is the celebration of the 20th anniversary of ACIS. ACIS is Asociación Colombiana de Investigadores en Suiza. It's a very small association, but in only 20 years, this association has become a very essential partner for all the cooperation exchange between two great countries, Switzerland and Colombia. It's really the essential partner for all projects of cooperation between these countries. And in a very short time, this is really a great challenge for this association. So it's a pleasure and an honor, even if I have been chosen for this task for only one reason, because I am the oldest member of the association. But I like to be clear. I am the oldest member in membership, not in age. Okay? That's clear for everybody. Yes, that's clear. Okay, so I try to achieve this task in a successful way. Even I think choosing the oldest member as a storyteller is not a good choice, because I am losing memory, and my souvenir are more and more rare and blurry. So I try to give a short history of ACIS, but of course I left the details for the other talks. I am giving only some milestones, maybe a very subjective vision of the history of ACIS, because I talk about my life with ACIS. Okay, so I am giving only some milestones, and the details will be given by other talks in these 2 days of the symposium. And as is usual in history, I start with the prehistory, with the life before ACIS. Because believe it or not, there was a life before ACIS. A small life, but there was a life before ACIS. Since 1961, most of the cooperation, academic cooperation and scientific cooperation between Colombia and Switzerland was done through the scholarship granted by the Commission, the Federal Commission for a Scholarship for Foreign Students. This commission granted a scholarship for the Colombian students since 1961, and it continues to grant this scholarship without interruption, with a very short interruption until now. And I got very lucky in 1976 to receive one of these scholarships. And I arrived in Switzerland to work in the electrical department of EPFL, to work on computer hardware with a very, very great professor, Daniel Manch, a very open-minded professor who helped me very, very, very soon to establish cooperation with Colombia. He gave me material for donation. He allowed me to organize several conferences and courses with participation of EPFL professors. And very, very soon, I organized these conferences, and I give material to Colombian universities, mainly to my old Colombian university, Universidad del Valle at Cali. So, as a consequence of this personal individual cooperation, an agreement was signed in 1981, was signed between Universidad del Valle, Cali, and the EPFL. The domain of this agreement were electrical and computer engineering. And some years after, a revolution happened, a great revolution happened. Internet and mail became very popular tools among the scientific and academic community. And as you know, one of the hottest points of this revolution was the CERN, the physics labs at Switzerland and Geneva. And at CERN, a young Colombian physicist is here, not so young, Fernando Rivera, a very young Colombian physicist, working at CERN, and he had the excellent idea to use email, and email wasn't a very, very different email today, it was very primitive email, and he had the excellent idea to use email for connecting academic Colombian people working abroad, working all over the world, and to interconnect these people in order to exchange idea, projects, and anything. I really think this email list, naming colleagues for Colombianos en el exterior, Colombian abroad, I like to think this colleagues was an ancestor for ACIS and also an ancestor for Facebook. I think Fernando is a millionaire. He's one of the richest people in the world after the creation of colleagues as a mailing list. Okay, so in 1990, Fernando founded colleagues, and 2 years after, the director of Conciencias is the Colombian equivalent of the Swiss National Foundation, Swiss National Science Foundation, exactly. The director of Conciencias went in Switzerland and visited EPFL. So he knew colleagues, and he knew the scientific Colombian community working at EPFL, and he had the idea to found a kind of official extension of colleagues, and he named that Red Caldas Network, taking the name of one of the first Colombian scientists, Francisco José de Caldas. So, Red Caldas was founded in 1992, and ACIS was created as one of the first nodes of colleagues. Most of the 31st members of colleagues of ACIS worked at EPFL, but we have members coming from all the Switzerland, not only at EPFL, but also even from the German side of Switzerland, very, very far and very wide country. We have also people coming from social sciences, but what people working here at EPFL. Okay, so during several years, ACIS was the most active member of Red Caldas, and also we have in my lab, we have the computer server for the full Red Caldas, for the full network. And during several years, the server run in my lab. So the goals of ACIS were, and are also the goals, are to facilitate exchanges between the scientists living in Switzerland who wish to settle professionally with Colombian partners, to promote, to support, and to spread all types of activities that have relation with the scientific and technological development of Colombia, and to establish and to strengthen relations with national and international organisms and institutions that can facilitate the achievement of their ACIS goals. During several years, several members of ACIS developed very interesting and very successful projects with Colombia, mainly with Universidad del Valle, and mainly in two areas: the environmental sciences with Professor César Pulgarín, here present, and computer science with me. These projects were very, very successful, but they were lacking one very important point, and it was a governmental infrastructure supporting this project. So a very important point, this very important point changed during the celebration of the 10th anniversary of ACIS. Because in this celebration, we take contact with a very important member of the government, of the Swiss government, Charles Kleiber, the State Secretary for Education and Research. Because Mr. Kleiber accepted to be the keynote speaker for this celebration, for these seminars, for this symposium. And after that, discussion between the SER, the Secretary for Education and Research, and ACIS and the Colombian government started. There were very long discussions, but eventually a project was funded by SER. This project, directed by Professor Andres Perez, here also Andres, there. So that was the first project funded by the SER, cooperation between Colombia and Switzerland, funded by SER, by the Secretary of Education and Research. And this project finished in 2008, and the discussion between the two governments, Colombian and Swiss government, continued. A very, very long and very difficult discussion. And I'd like to mention here the names of the three latest ambassadors of Colombia and Switzerland, three women, one of them is here. And these three ambassadors were very important in the discussion and were a big support for all the activities of ACIS. Very, very important to mention these three names: Elena Chavarria, Claudia Jimenez, and Claudia Turbay, the current ambassador of Colombia. So, discussion continued, and eventually, in 2011, a delegation of Swiss scientists and representative of research funding organization headed by the State Secretary for Education and Research, the new Secretary for Education and Research, Mauro Larambrollo, visited Colombia in 2011. So that was very, very important. And as a consequence of this visit, this year, in May of this year, a memorandum of understanding was signed. The ambassador of Colombia will give more details of this agreement in the next talk. So, during all this year, a lot of projects were directed and headed by members of ACIS. In these two main areas, environmental sciences and computer science. I think I wouldn't be an engineer if I don't give some numbers. Some number, very important number. More than 40 PhD students had finished these studies here in Switzerland through this ACIS project. And the funding for all these projects are for more than 10 million Swiss francs. So that's very important numbers. So now, that's the past history of ACIS. That's the past history of ACIS, very important history. But I think the most important milestone is the most recent milestone. This milestone is the arrival of a new generation of very young and very dynamic Colombian scientists. This new generation of young and dynamic Colombian scientists has taken the power in ACIS, and they are now the organizer of this this symposium, for example. And you are going to see during these 2 days several of the ideas of this new generation, several of the projects, and several of the achievements of this new generation. So I like to think the legacy of ACIS is still to be made, and it will be the work of the new generation. And now the old man can retire happy on this work. Thank you for your attention.